So if I had to draw a rough self-portrait of myself these days, this is probably how I would do it. Hi, I'm Ryuji, and I'm your friendly neighborhood stereotypical vegan. I'm skinny, weak, this is what my diet looks like, I have a severe chronic protein deficiency, and I have a dungeon where I can find meat eaters and force my beliefs down their throats. But you see, I wasn't always this guy. And believe it or not, I used to be strong. I used to have friends. My favorite foods were eggs and fried chicken. And if you'd ever asked me, yo bro, would you ever consider being vegan? I would have been like, what's a vegan? Yeah, I had no idea what vegans were and much less why anyone would ever choose to become one. And if I did know that stuff, I would have definitely been one of those people making fun of them. The point is, if you would have seen me before I was a vegan, I don't think you would have ever thought that I'd actually become one. So, what's the story? How did this brainwashing happen? Well, to understand that, we must first turn back the wheels of time and go all the way back to February 17th, 2013. Now, I don't remember that specific day, but I do know I hated that day. Why? Because it was a Sunday, and I was in high school. And like every Sunday in high school, I woke up, checked Facebook, and saw them. Photos upon photos of all the popular kids partying and having a good time throughout the weekend, of course, without me. Now, this seems really petty in retrospect, but back then, my dream was to be a popular kid. And whether or not this was objectively true, I felt like I was the complete opposite. And it was really painful. Every day that went by, loneliness and frustration would eat at me, and there was this little voice in the back of my head that kept saying, "You suck, and your life will suck." But looking back, I am so grateful because that pain was a gift that led me to discover the life-changing worlds of personal development. Now, I can't remember how, but towards the end of high school, I started discovering tons of videos, audio programs, and books about how I could improve my life if only I put in some hard work and had dedication. I heard people tell stories about how they used to struggle with the same things that I struggle with, but managed to overcome them. And although that eventually led to so many good things happening in my life, at the time, my research taught me 3 invaluable lessons that I still live by to this day. 1. My life is my responsibility. Whether I wanted a six-pack, money, or friends, I learned that I could get those things if I had the right mindset and took the right actions. 2. I could be wrong about anything. Very quickly, I learned that what I thought I knew about such important things like happiness and health were completely wrong. And if I was wrong about that, what else could I be wrong about? And 3, I need to always be open to change. I understood that in order for me to be the best version of myself and achieve my goals, I would have to completely change from the inside out and never be attached to anything I identify with. And thanks to those mindsets, this book made its way into my life. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Yuval is a historian and philosopher who critically studies the world in order to understand it and ultimately make it a better place. He's a professor at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, but if you've ever heard about him, it's probably through one of his side hustles, which include giving talks and lectures around the world, writing 3 best-selling books, chatting with heads of states about global issues, writing for prestigious publications, giving a TED Talk as a digital avatar, and running Sapiens, an organization he co-founded with his husband, whose mission is to clarify the global conversation, focus attention on the most important challenges, and support the quest for solutions. Oh, and he meditates 2 hours a day. A practice, he says, is responsible for his ability to think clearly. Around the time that Homo sapiens was elevated to divine status by humanist religions, farm animals stopped being viewed as living creatures that could feel pain and distress, and instead came to be treated as machines. They pass their entire lives as cogs in a giant production line, and the length and quality of their existence is determined by the profits and losses of business corporations. Most people who produce and consume eggs, milk, and meat rarely stop to think about the fate of the chickens, cows, or pigs whose flesh and emissions they're eating. Those who do think often argue that such animals are really little different from machines, devoid of sensations and emotions, incapable of suffering. Ironically, the same scientific disciplines which shape our milk machines and egg machines have lately demonstrated beyond reasonable doubts that mammals and birds have a complex sensory and emotional makeup. They not only feel physical pain, but can also suffer from emotional distress. A wild cow had to know how to form close relations with other cows and bulls, or else she could not survive and reproduce. In order to learn the necessary skills, evolution implanted in calves, as in the young of all other social mammals, a strong desire to play, and an even stronger desire to bond with their mothers, whose milk and care were essential for survival. What happens if farmers now take a young calf, separate her from her mother, put her in a closed cage, give her food, water, and inoculations against diseases, and then, when she's old enough, inseminate her with bull sperm? From an objective perspective, this calf no longer needs either maternal bonding or playmates in order to survive and reproduce. But from a subjective perspective, the calf still feels a very strong urge to bond with her mother and to play with other calves. The tragedy of industrial agriculture is that it takes great care of the objective needs of animals while neglecting their subjective needs. Reading that passage was shocking to me. Like he said, I never really thought about the animals behind my food, clothes, and other products, and it wasn't because I wished harm upon them, it's just because I was being indifferent. I always knew in the back of my head that animals probably had to suffer for my food, but I never seriously thought about it, and I never thought about it from their perspective. Are they willing participants? Would I swap places with them? It's with these questions in mind that I started researching every industry I could think of that used animals, from meat, dairy, and eggs, to leather, fur, circuses, and research labs. What I found is that whenever animals are involved to make a profit, their best interest is simply never a priority, and at the end of the day, they are seen as nothing more than commodities. I discovered that each industry had its fair share of cruel yet legal and standard practices, even when disguised behind labels like free-range, cage-free, and pasture-raised. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to acknowledge that animals undeniably suffered in the industries that exploit them, and much more than I could have ever imagined. So that's it. When I discovered that, I decided that I could no longer be a part of that. If I would never want to be in the animal's position, then the least I can do is not contribute to their suffering. Over the span of the next 2 weeks, I stopped purchasing and consuming all animal products. And that's how my quest of trying to become a cool kid ended up transforming me to become a vegan.
Yo, what's up? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Now, first things first, if you'd like to learn a little more about the meat, dairy, egg industries and other industries that exploit animals, I really recommend you check out a film called Dominion. I've left a link down below. Now, I did want to share with you that Yuval, the author of Sapiens, has actually himself become vegan as a result of doing research for this very book, which I think is pretty cool because he wrote it changed my life, and I'm making this video now. In the mainstream, becoming vegan is sometimes seen as something that's negative, extreme, restricting, but to me it's been the complete opposite. It's been such a joy, it's been amazing, and to me, it was really a reflection of thinking for myself and doing what I think is right despite what everyone else is doing. To me, the most beautiful part of it by far is reconnecting with animals. Ever since I became vegan, I stopped seeing animals as machines, as commodities, and rather I saw them as sentient beings, as fellow earthlings with whom I share this planet. Finally, thank you to all my supporters over at Patreon for helping make this video possible. And yeah, that was it. What did you think? I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what your story is. Leave a like on this video if you liked it, and also subscribe to the channel, all the stuff that YouTubers tell you to do. I'll see you real soon. Thank you again, and until next time, let's keep defending animals.